Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Pancakes Plus, the video series about breakfast foods of all different kinds with special emphasis on pancakes and French toast. My name is Butch, I'm your host, and we'll be covering a lot of different kinds of breakfast foods in this video series. And I'm not a chef, I don't own a restaurant, I don't work in a restaurant. I'm just an old fat guy that likes to cook. And one of my favorite things to fix is breakfast foods. So we're going to go on this journey down breakfast food road together. As you can tell, I'm from the South. And in the South, we have some different ways of pronunciations, different phrases, and things of that nature. So, such as, Yuns didn't take Granny to Walmart with you, did you? So if I say anything that's Southern that you don't understand and you need translated, drop me a note in the comment box and I'll be happy to translate that for you. Now, when we decided to start this video series, one of the first things I had to decide was where to start. Now, my daddy, who was a very wise man, always told me that the place to start was at the start. So that's where we're going to start. This is a basic pancake recipe. This is the foundation of all the other different pancakes that we'll make. It starts with this recipe right here. Now then, first thing you need to do is assemble your mise en place. I've heard it pronounced mise en place or mise en place, which is French. I don't speak French, I do good to speak English. But it basically means get your stuff together before you start trying to cook. So this is what we have laid out here, is a mise en place. In the bowl, we have 1 1/4 cup of white lily flour. Now I use white lily because it's made from winter wheat. It's a soft flour, it gives great results. And in addition to that, it was my mother's flour. So if it's good enough for Mama, it's good enough for me. And that's the white lily flour. Now, into the bowl with flour, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, here again, I use Clabber Girl baking powder because that's what Mama used. And then it's good enough for Mama, it's good enough for me. So the baking powder and the flour and some granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of baking soda. I use Arm & Hammer. Use Arm & Hammer baking soda because it's very readily available and you don't have any problems getting it. Mix this up with your whisk until it's thoroughly mixed. Get you a good homogeneous mixture. And then you're ready for your wets. Now the wet ingredients. In here we have 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. Now when you go to the grocery store to get buttermilk, you're going to find 2 different kinds. You're going to find cultured buttermilk. And I always thought it was cultured because it likes opera and ballet and art and classical music and poetry. But no, that's not really the case. It's called cultured buttermilk because it has a culture of the bacteria, the normal bacteria that live in your gut, the lactobacillus family. And that's the reason it's called cultured. Now, I call the other buttermilk redneck buttermilk because it's not cultured. And you can use either one, but now the bacteria in the cultured buttermilk are killed by the heat from the cooking process. So if you're wanting to treat, say, the side effect of an antibiotic, for instance, you get the most common side effects from the antibiotics and need to replace, or have fever blisters, or for some other reason need to replace the normal bacteria that live in the gut. Drinking buttermilk cultured buttermilk is a really good way of doing that. But for our purposes, Either one will work fine. If there's a price difference, get the cheap one. And to this buttermilk, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of canola oil. Now, I like canola oil because it has a really high smoke point, but that's not really applicable to our situation here. It has very, very little flavor. It doesn't have much taste at all, so it doesn't alter the flavor of any of the other ingredients. Then to this, we add 1 large egg. 1 large egg. And then you mix this large egg up. And the egg acts as an emulsifier. And what that does is it lets the water-based buttermilk combine with the oil to make a smooth mixture. And that way, you don't have any separation, and it's easier to incorporate into your dry ingredients. So, you take your dry ingredients, like so, and you stir, pour in your wets, and then, here's a mistake a lot of people make. They work the batter too much. They put too much, stir it too much. You just want to stir it until it gets fairly well incorporated. You will have some lumps. See, you've got some lumps there. The lumps will cook out. But if you mix it too much, it will get tough on you, make your pancakes tough. Now then, we're going to let this rest. It needs to rest for a few minutes. The acid in the buttermilk reacts with the baking soda to start the rising process, and it reacts and gives off carbon dioxide. So you'll see little bubbles forming in here, and when the little bubbles start forming, then you're going to be ready. An easy way to time this is to go ahead and start your griddle. I put mine on 350. So if we had a sponsor right now would be the time I would say a word from our sponsor. But since we don't have a sponsor, we're gonna fade out and come back when the griddle's hot and the dough batter has rested. Alrighty then, our griddle is hot and our batter has rested. I'm using an electric griddle here. I love this electric griddle. It's really easy to control the temperature on it. You don't have hot spots. It's really good. If you don't have one of those, a 2-burner griddle will work. I have seen people use a skillet, and they make a small tabletop griddle. You could absolutely use one of those. First thing you want to do is put some grease on the griddle. I'm using spray canola. Canola, like I said, doesn't bring any flavor to the party, and it's not as high in calories as butter, or I have seen people use bacon grease for pancakes. We need to know how much batter to put on here. Now, if I'm using a side dish, say for bacon and eggs in a side stack, I use a 1/3 cup size, because your side dish stack doesn't need to be as large as an entree stack. But for an entree stack, we're going to use a 1/2 cup measuring cup to measure this out. And Alex, if you will pan in here, you'll see that the batter has little bubbles already forming in it. That means the acid in the buttermilk and the baking soda are doing their thing. Now then, we put the heat on, put it on the heat, and the baking soda should do its thing, and it should rise even more. So here we go. Now then. All right. right. And now is the time you would want to put an add-in. I call it an add-in. You can use M&M's, milk chocolate drops, white chocolate drops, semi-sweet chocolate drops, pecans, dark chocolate, Reese's Pieces, raisins, bananas, whatever you want to add to the pancake. We add it now. Mr. Alex is going to, my cameraman, is going to have these tonight. Say hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Oh, boy, it's going to be one of those nights. He wants white chocolate pancakes. So we're going to put them little puppies right in here. Just put some in there and scatter them out. Spread them around. Spread them. Whoop, keep them on the pancake, not the floor. Put some in here. You can be as generous or as stingy as you want to be. Just remember, though, that you are going to be eating these things 3 layers deep. So if you put too many, you'll have 3 layers of add-in instead of pancakes. So the next question we always ask is, when do you flip them? And the answer to that is they will get dry around the edge. Around this edge, you can tell they will be dry, and they will have little bubbles forming in the center. And these are not there yet. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. So we could either do one of 2 things. We can either fade away and come back, or I could sing and dance for you. And believe me, you don't want to hear me sing nor watch me dance. So let's just fade away, and then we'll come back when it's closer time to flip them. And we're back. The pancakes are beginning to get dry around the edge. Alex, if you'll zoom in here, you'll get a picture of that. You can tell around the edge how they're getting dry. And in the center, they're starting to form little bubbles. So that means it's time to flip. Take your little spatula and go, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, yeah, perfect. Look there. Now then, excuse me. We got Mr. Alex doesn't worry too much about calories, so we're going to put him a little butter on here right now. Put him a little butter right there, right there, right there. Another thing you need to know is when to take them off. And the time to take them off is when you touch them in the center right here. They'll be sort of firm. They won't have a lot of squishiness, if that's a good term. I don't know if that's a good cooking term or not, but it works for me. And when it's firm in there, then they are ready to take off. And I believe these are just about ready, Alex. Look at that. What do you think? Look good?
Looking good.
All right. So, we got our plate. Plate these little puppies up. Right here. There we go. And now then, we're ready for the good stuff. We got, you can use maple syrup or whatever syrup you like. I happen to like Log Cabin. It's really good syrup. It doesn't have that slick, greasy mouthfeel to it that some of the syrups do. Maple syrup, of course, works perfectly well. So we're just going to liberally put some of this on there. If you've got some freshly made whipped cream, you could certainly put some of that on there. If you don't, you can use some of this ready whipped type. Put some of that on there. Garnish these puppies with a little bit of macadamia nuts. And there you have white chocolate chip pancakes from Pancakes Plus. So if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, share it, and follow us. That's very important. So like, share, and follow. And if you do that, we certainly would appreciate it. So we'll see you next time. Hoping you have Heart of Dixie dishes from the Heart of Dixie.